So one of the questions we have here are about courses. A lot of the advertising college courses are mostly done online or not. This will depend on the institution. So it depends for every single school what they offer. Some of the advertising courses you might need to go do in person. And again, if you visit our SchoolFinder site and you do a search on advertising, you'll be able to see in the description for the course whether it's an online course or not. Do your research, do your homework to see what the type of course is.
It's seldom that online courses are offered in the first year. Mm-hmm. Usually they're offered in second, third, fourth year programs.
Yeah, and also one thing to keep in mind are online courses are great for the sake of convenience and getting credit, but to continue or complete your education online is sort of a detriment to you. Only because you should be experiencing and enjoying the experience of the education you're receiving. So whether it be a 2, 3, 4, 5-year experience, doing it online is really not a fulfilling way to do it, I would say. Again, when we talk about networks, a lot of the people you'll meet to start your networks are people in class. Specifically for advertising, I know the college level is very hands-on, group-based, so I can't see it being an advantageous thing to keep it online.
The next question we have is there a tier rating available for various universities for various programs? Mm-hmm. Now, the ranking systems that I'm familiar with here, you've got Maclean's, you've got the QS World Rankings, which takes the various schools across Canada and across the world and ranks them for you. I know over in the UK you also have some, so you've got the Times ranking, and that also keeps in mind the program. So if you're looking for the top business school, or if you're looking for the school that's got the best medical program, it breaks it down for you.
Here in Toronto, the Globe and Mail newspaper actually surveyed students to do their Globe and Mail rankings, and right now they're conducting the rankings for 2012 right now. So.
I'd like to add too that it's sort of like saying, what's the best high school for taking grade 12 math? Well, the grade 12 math program is exactly the same at every high school. Mm-hmm. And you'll get good teachers and bad teachers. But it's the same at college university. If you take a nursing program, the government, the people that register nurses, tell the colleges what has to be taught in that program, and everybody has to teach the same thing. So it's not like you're going to one school because they're going to have a lot better information on nursing. That's not how it works.
Ranking is definitely only a piece of the puzzle. And working in education and marketing, a lot of schools, you know, when you visit their websites and you look at their programs, of course they're going to show you their best faces, right? They're going to show you the alumni that's been really successful. They're going to show you their strengths. And really the only way to tell if the school or the program is for you is to check it out for yourself. There's nothing that compares to actually going on a campus tour, looking at the student life, and even using the social media networks you have now, checking out their Facebook, their Twitter, looking at what the current students are doing, the different associations, and even if you're specifically looking at careers, LinkedIn is a great way to check out what recent grads are doing. So if you want to check out what University of Waterloo students are doing, you can just type that in and see where they land, and that's a good indication of how well that school or program is.
Perfect. That actually segues very nicely into the next question, where someone has received offers from multiple universities and they're not really sure which to choose. So what's a good determining factor? I know Ian's just touched upon, if you go on a campus tour, you can get a feel of the life there, the campus, and sort of what it would feel like to be a student there. If you're interested in job prospects, again, checking them out on LinkedIn so you can see what it's like for the graduates. Using social media like Facebook and Twitter to connect with current students. There are often groups for like the class of 2014 where you can meet fellow future students as well as current students and ask your questions. The determining factor, I think, it also boils down to your personal preference, the things that Karen touched upon. Are you interested in student life? Are you interested in location? Are you interested in academics? Are you interested in the program? I know for me, my determining factor was that was the course I wanted to do, and that was the school that I'd always wanted to go to. But I know for some of my friends, it was more about actually I'd like to study in a big city rather than an academic town. So those are good things to consider. at the end of the day, I went with my gut, and it wasn't a bad decision. Sometimes you can go with your gut. I know a friend who literally flipped a coin, so sort of.
Whatever you do, don't choose based on your friends.
Yeah.
You don't want to choose your university or college because the rest of your graduating class is going. I know a couple people who did that, and by the middle of first year, they were sort of like, what am I doing here? So yeah, definitely, it's a thoughtful process, and it's great that you have options, and now it really is up to you to weigh out the pros and cons for yourself.
The next question we have here, someone's wondering about job opportunities in two different professions in Ontario. Theirs is a rather specific question, but I figured we should answer it on a general scale. So I guess this person is debating between these two different programs that give them two different degrees, two different careers. So how would you advise people to look up on what the job opportunities or like the job market is like for those careers? Like what should they look into? What should they investigate?
Going back to what Dean suggested earlier, you can actually find out how the graduates did in those programs in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And that would give you not only where they're working, in other words, did they work in the field, did they get jobs in the field, how much their starting salary is. So you can actually find out that information if you want to compare the two careers. Another way is talk to some people that are in those careers. People that are in those careers have what we talked earlier about links. So if I'm talking to a person in sales, they know they've friends that they have and other companies that they work with. They have a perspective of the job market usually in their field. It's a matter of going and asking them.
Now this is a very interesting circumstance because they are very different. And I think when you have such polarized interests, you have to sort of better define why you like those things. What is it about Police Foundation that you enjoy or are interested in? Is it the violence, or is it the enforcement, or is it helping people, or is it being in cop cars driving really fast? You know, it's very different. Also in advertisement, is it because you can be creative? Is it because it's that luxurious lifestyle you're looking for? When you define those things, it becomes clear to you what suits you better. And if at the end of that process you realize these are the two things you really like to do, then you have to choose one that you think you can best adapt to later on. No one says that someone that goes into Police Foundation can't end up in advertising. You never know what can happen, but better define for yourself why you want those things and then choose which ones you think will suit you better for the long run of things.
The other thing to consider is, for example, the top 10 careers that we've listed on our site. That sort of gives an indication of what fields are hiring. I know definitely keeping an eye out on the business section of your news is always a good thing for you to see what the economy is like. But you also need to take those things with a pinch of salt, because sometimes you can say, oh, the economy is not doing well, but I know for sure that sometimes you see newspaper articles on the big companies that are making massive job cuts, but they're not the only people that are hiring. Oftentimes during recessions, it's the smaller companies that are willing to hire, that have opportunities that are out there. So just try and arm yourself with as much information as possible. The more you know, the more informed the decision can be, and all the things we suggested will give you a better picture of the profession. It'll give you a better idea of the odds of getting a job. I know some schools actually that's what they market. They say that our graduates have 100% hiring percentage, and it could be true. It could be that their way of getting you there. But again, with things like social media, all you have to do is connect on their Facebook page and ask. Yeah. The final question that we have is, what are the pros and cons of entering a collaborative program in comparison to a straight program? So I'm assuming this is not related to co-op, but more related to doing majors and minors and doing one.
See.
I'm going to pass it over to the Canadian people because I don't know how to answer this question.
That's an excellent question. For example, most college programs tend to be more specific, and the university program tends to start off as very general. So which is better? Well, the one theory is that if you get a variety of knowledge and that just basic research skills and learning skills, that you can apply it to any job. So a general process is better because you can apply it to any job. Whereas a specific program, once you finish that course, if there aren't jobs available, it's less applicable to a variety of other things that you can try. But there's flaws in both of those statements. So I think what you should look at is more looking at the program and where you think you'd be most successful in the program, and enjoy which program you'd enjoy most. Because, in fact, you could do one and then the other. You could take a college program and then go on and take university courses, or vice versa. You know.
Yeah, collaborative is an interesting word for it. I don't quite know what that means. If you want to better define it in the question box, feel free to do so. But there's definitely a lot of transition pathways programs right now. So when you enter a college, it doesn't mean your education stops there. You can always move on to a university degree, and vice versa. After your university degree, you can always pick up either a postgrad or go back to college. So
what they mean is part-time in college and part-time in university.
Oh,
same time?
Such as nursing common, which is common nowadays. Thank you.
So you mean half and half, right?
Okay, yeah.
Starting.
Yeah.
Those programs are absolutely terrific.
Okay, yeah. I see.
Because the college gives you the practical component and the university gives you the academic component. So they're absolutely terrific.
I know when we went out west, we also, this isn't necessarily a collaborative program, but we met a lot of students that were, after they'd done high school, they were going to go to college for 2 years and then have that transfer credit over to the university. So then at the end of the 4 years, they'd had 2 years at college and 2 years at university. And one of their main advantages and reasons for doing it is they were more able to translate easily from high school to college, like the workload. That was an easier transition for them. Not everybody is built to go directly into university or deal sort of with the workload. So if you feel like your learning style is such that maybe you're better suited to college, but you want your future ambition to finish at university, there are plenty of courses in colleges and universities that have partnerships that allow you to transition. I know Seneca at the moment has their ad campaign of saying you can start at Seneca and you can finish at U of T. So that's not good. Anyway. The next final question I think we have is, how important is living on campus in your first year of university? I will give my take on this answer. I think personally, I think it's very important because it helps you to get a feel of the university. It helps you to make friends with people at the university. If you're able to afford it, if you're able to do it, it's always a great option. It gives you the whole student experience. I lived on campus for my first year, and then I lived off campus for my second and third year, and I was more comfortable doing that because I had already established a friend base. But that's not to say if you choose not to do it that you still can't connect with people. If you get involved in associations or activities or groups, that's also a great way with connecting with people. There's no right or wrong answer. I guess that's my personal preference.
Right. I'm a little biased. I actually worked in residence as a residence don, so a residence advisor, someone who actually lives with first-year students to help them guide their way through their first year. And so for me, it's a very important experience only because the hardest part about school is not school. It's the life part of it. So when it comes to, especially in the winter cold and the gray months, it gets very depressing sometimes. It's a mental challenge within yourself. And to do that alone in an isolated place without having the support system or a community behind you is a very difficult process. So residence just allows that sort of community feel for you and to have people there around you to socialize and counsel and everything else.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that if you can't live on residence for whatever reason, I definitely, because both of the schools I went to were local, it didn't make sense to live on residence, and also there wasn't room because if you, generally speaking, residence is offered to international students or students who are abroad or live quite a far distance from school. So just because you don't live on residence doesn't necessarily mean you're missing out, but you do have to take a more active role in being involved in the student life and the student community. Definitely, as Liza mentioned earlier, joining clubs and things is a great way to get involved.
And whatever you do, don't decide on residence based on cost. If you look at the costing and actually compare it between month-to-month rent, you'll find that it's fairly comparable. So it's a lot of upfront costs for residents, but don't not do it just because it's too expensive, because it will catch up to you month-to-month. $400 or $500 a month amounts to about the same thing for residents. So yeah.
And as Ian did, as a residence there's a way of buffering that cost. So if you start working at the residence or doing something, you can definitely help yourself.
And if you don't know already, when you go into residence, you don't have to pay the full amount in September.
No.
There are packages that you pay just not quite like a monthly rent, but 2 or 3 payments during the year.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So I think that's all we have for questions. Once again, thank you to everyone who stuck around to hear our answers. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email Karen or connect with us on social media. We hope you found the session to be useful. It's definitely insightful for us to hear all of your questions. I think the main takeaway is do your homework, keep your options open, and your path in academics and jobs, you'll find your way.